never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
I'm speaking now to the men who are watching the show. It's really only the men who will truly comprehend just how close to death I have become in the last 24 or 48 hours. Women don't understand. They never have. Shut up, Vince. All right. So maybe I'm not at death's door, but right now my voice is so low that submarines can hear me on the other side of the Indian Ocean. So that's going pretty well. But at least I've got a voice. I didn't have one a few hours ago. So I will try and temper my excitement tonight.
So is this a how low can you go type?
How low can you go?
Yeah, he beats me by a mile. Hello, everybody. How are you? Carl is obviously well and truly under the weather. I don't know what the weather's like.
I'm not taking drugs, but I am sniffing garlic. I know you meant to eat it, but hey, maybe I've taken drugs and that's why I'm sniffing garlic. Anyway, maybe I've just got something at all. No, anyway, let's not go down that road. Thank you to those of you who've cared enough to send me an email. Anne Penny sent me a beautiful email. Thank you very much. Some text messages, some get out of bed, you sook messages from women, because men clearly wouldn't send a message like that. What that knows all about it. I hope he's recovering well. He has had if I'm correct, he will have had a second bandage change today, possibly yesterday, probably today. And if anything is like the first one he had a few days back out of hospital, things might be a little tender tonight after it's been all repacked. But brother, I'm sure you're doing okay. And if you need a hand, you just let me know. You don't want me anywhere near you at the moment, though. Rachel, I look a bit flushed. Somebody said to me the other night that I looked very red. And,
yeah, that was me.
That was you? It's hard to tell under these lights and in these conditions just how flushed I am or red I am. I'm not feeling hot. That's the best thing. I don't seem to have too much heat left in my head anymore, much less brains. But I have body aches and pains that I think are now chiropractic in nature rather than anything else. I feel like I've got a tennis ball in the middle of my back that needs to be pushed somewhere else, because where it is, it's not meant to be there. And I have sitting here right behind me at the moment the world's largest vibrating doohickey, which I can't have vibrating while I'm talking to you, because then I'll sound even worse than I do now. But I've got that there trying to just maybe pop this thing back in somewhere somehow. But anyway, I think it's probably going to be a journey to a chiropractor or someone like that in the next week or so. We'll see what happens. Face like beetroot. Yeah, thank you, Paul. I don't think I'm having a stroke, so be all good with that. My blood pressure and everything appears to be fine, and I'm not doing anything, so I'm certainly not getting too concerned. I just wish I could get rid of this ache in my bloody back and shoulder. But that's a whole other bitch and whinge. Let's not start, because I'll never stop. Let's get into another bitch and whinge.
Mate, maybe you've got COVID. I mean, that's what they're calling the flu nowadays.
Convid.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk about Convid. In fact, all right, we'll go there rather than go to Babbitt. So there are a lot of things happening in Australia at the moment behind the scenes. However, the TGA have basically been protected by this Labor government and the Liberal government before it in the decisions that it made surrounding COVID. And I dare say Atagi and a couple of the other institutions that were heavily involved in this cover-up have also been protected, so to speak. In America, their form of protection went a different way, and that is for Fauci to be given a pardon for nothing in particular, but he was pardoned for anything that they might have found that he did for 10 years after he got out of office. Now, nobody in America has ever been pardoned and then had the pardon taken off them before. But then again, usually those pardons were written by a sane and healthy president who didn't have an auto pen that signed practically everything for him. And now we know that there is a lot of auto pen pardons that have been signed, and there is a certain level of confidence that Fauci's has been signed by auto pen. One that has very definitely not been signed by auto pen and is Biden's original signature is the pardon that he gave his son Hunter. And you can rest assured that we're going to see no more of that little shit fight, maybe until all the truth comes out. They won't be able to hide it all, I'm pretty confident. But the Americans have now got a very large inquiry into what happened in COVID, and Josh Hawley and Ron Johnson have been taking the officials to town. Now, here are some of the startling things that Josh Hawley came out with as he was exiting one of the rooms after the hearings. This was yesterday.
Hawley, we're at the COVID cover-up hearing right now. You just said we don't have a democracy anymore. Can you elaborate on why you think that is?
This witness just testified under oath that the COVID origins report that the last administration issued was false. When it said that there's no evidence of a Wuhan lab-related activity in COVID, that was false. He just testified that when the last administration said that they were turning over all of the information that they could related to COVID, that's totally false. They gave us 5 pages. He said there are thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that were never turned over. I mean, it's unbelievable. We have basically a systematic effort to violate the laws of Congress, to lie to the American people, to mislead the American people, and it's still going on. The deep state actors, it is still going on. If you've got people who will just not follow the laws of Congress and will lie openly to the American people, I don't know how you can hope to preserve our country. I just don't know how you can do it.
Yeah, how true is that? And the Australian government is facing exactly the same shit. And you'll notice that a lot of what he's talking about, apart from Fauci, is in the bureaucracy, in the American bureaucracy, where this has all been perpetrated without the permission of the people, much less the permission of the Congress, the US Congress. And they have been deliberately hiding things. Now, Ron Johnson has also been going hard at it. And I believe he's appeared on Hoodie's show in the last 24 hours or so. I haven't seen it, but might be worth a bit of a look. Ron Johnson has made no secret of the fact of he believes where responsibility lies, and the American people are demanding answers for it, particularly for Fauci.
We need to get to the bottom of this, and right now I'm just using this moment. I need the mainstream media, CBS, ABC, CNN, to step forward and start covering what is a major scandal. How many thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of people are permanently disabled or possibly lost their life because our FDA hid the fact that there were safety signals screaming at them with the COVID injection. So again, you can't answer all my questions in terms of but we need to figure out who is running this deep state.
We do, and the one in Australia too. Now, if you watch the Carl Stefanovic show, you will have seen Carl talking to Rennick a little while back, and he came out saying, I feel so bad about the role that I played in selling that whole COVID experience to the Australian people. Feels very guilty about it. Don't know that he has any understanding of why he feels guilty about it. My question would be is we need him while he still has a mainstream media job to start doing the kinds of things that Ron Johnson is calling on American mainstream media to do. it's all well and good for him to say, "Oh, I feel really bad," and I reanalyze and having a good think about what I'd do again in my position. It's all well and good to do that on your own channel, but you're preaching to the converted for the most part. You're not converting people, and particularly people like us who've been talking about this since it started, and you ignored when we reached out to you. You refused to talk to us when we reached out to you. And Ben Fordham is another one. Now, I don't know if Ben Fordham secretly feels the same way as Karl Stefanovic does, regrets what he did, because there have been a few allegations about Ben and his ancestry and regard for Freemasonry, and I don't know, one way or the other. I just know that he's not game enough to talk to me on the air about a few things. Not because he's not scared in any way. It's just that he doesn't understand, I don't think, the arguments, or doesn't know how to make an argument against something as simple as, Ben, why has the Governor General for the last 2 elections that I'm aware of, federal elections, signed in the witnesses' position on the election writ rather than as the person issuing the writ? The witness would be someone else. The person issuing the writ is a government minister that most of us have never heard of. And they keep it Special Minister of State, I think they refer to them. And I don't know, we'll have to do a chat GPT request to find out who that is, I guess. But a lot of questions to be asked there. And the Australian people are demanding it. Now, we do have senators like Roberts, like Antic, like Hanson, who are going to, I hope, propagate the arguments and the exposure of what's happened during COVID. But Vince, do you think that One Nation particularly will take up this battle at this time, given that with their current election wins in South Australia, the Farrer by-election, and they've got to put a bit of work into Victoria for the end of this year, are they going to be focused more on getting elected rather than trying to hold these bastards accountable?
Okay, well, effectively taking into the fact that the latest Gallup poll, which was done by Morgan, actually has One Nation at 32%, and that is above Labor. And in a two-party preferred, it's 51-49. I think they'll be concentrating on the election. And in all fairness, I don't see why not. They could scream as much as they'd like while they're a small voice in Parliament and not get anywhere. I mean, Roberts ran a whole COVID situation where he brought people in and they discussed it and whatever. Inquiry, yeah. So,
but that inquiry clearly lied to him. The TGA lied to him. He's tried in estimates to get further details out of them, and they have, well, if they haven't clearly lied, then they have just not bothered answering the questions.
Yeah,
they just ignore them.
That's the challenge. What are they going to do until they can get in and make some serious changes because they have the power? They can't do anything in that respect. So really. They can raise it so that we understand it, right?
So what would be the first change they need to make, do you feel?
There is so many to pick from at this stage of the game. Where do you want to go? I mean, look at what Liberal are doing right now, the coalition are doing right now. They're still shooting at One Nation, but if you take where their position was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and to what they've done, a 180-degree turn now, and trying to win back all these voters that have decided to shift away from the coalition and from Labor, because, we're not, Liberal had 30, 40, 50 years to listen to what we were saying. And now all of a sudden they are, right? Why is that? And why is it so similar to what One Nation has been saying for the last 30 years? You've just got to think about it.
would you find it disingenuous or the right thing to do for the Liberal Party to be pinching those policies, to be adopting those positions that One Nation have so clearly been articulating for years, as you say, and like since day one when Pauline Hanson made her maiden speech in that place, she was talking about immigration. So she is the only politician, rightfully or wrongfully, that is stuck with the same message on day one that she went in with, rather, on day one. Now, you know,
and that's
other
expanded a
allegiances.
lot since then.
Well, there's
An
been a few
absolute-
more allegiances come into play since then, hasn't there? You know,
There is.
pins and scarves and, you know, associated other bits and pieces. And I find it interesting.
Sorry, go, Carl.
I find it interesting that she's getting so much Jewish support and demanding it from her One Nation people. Malcolm Roberts, I think I mentioned the other day, was door knocking somewhere, and the person behind the door asked him whether or not he thought the Bondi shootings were a false flag event. And he said, look, I'm a scientist, you know, I like empirical data, and I haven't seen any of that, you know, so I can't make a judgment either way. Now, Chris Kenny got his testicles in a torture tube and started whining like a cat that, anti-Semitic bastard, you know, he didn't immediately adopt the Jewish woe is us storyline and say, how dare you think it could be anything else other than an anti-Semitic attack on a peace-loving bunch of people, which it was, an anti-Semitic attack on a bunch of peace-loving people down on Bondi. However, there's a bit more around it to that. And anyway, Pauline's now made Malcolm Roberts come and not exactly retract his comments, but articulate them in a way that sort of gets him out of the shit a little bit. So
that was actually done by another streamer who asked that question to him, and that's where that all went. Yeah, because I only literally watched the video about 15 minutes before we started. In all fairness, what's happening over there and whether they support the Jews or the Palestinians or whatever else, One Nation's main focus is here in this country, right? It's looking after this country. Now, just going to have a quick chat about the budget here. Angus Taylor said quite clearly that they would be looking to limit migration to the number of houses built. Does anybody see a problem with that? Does anybody at all see a problem with that? Because I did. The minute he said it, I saw one.
Yep.
And do you know what that might be?
You tell us, Vince.
How does that help the current 130,000 people who don't have a house? If you're going to bring in, if you build 130 houses and you bring in 130,000 people, right? How does that help the current 130,000 who don't have a house? And how does that assist?
You're missing a significant piece of data that goes into that equation. So they're going to need to bring in 100,000 builders, plumbers, carpenters, tilers, and everything else to build these houses.
No, they don't.
In the time they've got, because there aren't enough. Well, they are, because they're running a campaign for it in India, so you can come here and fucking build houses. So that's exactly what they're doing.
But they don't need to do that. How many housing places have gone broke over the last 5 years here in this country? Because of the expenses, the red tape, the blue tape, the green tape. How many new
subcontinent building companies have come into existence, running cheaper rates, and I suggest shoddier standards. And there is that great bloke out of Melbourne who does building inspections. He's a dynamo. He's great. And I tell you what, he doesn't care what nationality the builder is. You build to Australian conditions and regulations, and he keeps them. he keeps them going on it hard. So I think we should have more blokes like him, and I don't think we should be encouraging carpenters, painters or any other thing coming from the subcontinent or anywhere else for that matter. This country has jobs to its people.
Remember the figures I gave you 2 nights ago about the number of people who are underemployed being 5.9%, the number of people who were unemployed at 4.5%. What if those people were out there being brickies, being carpenters? What if?
But they're not. But they're not going to be, because most of them are signed up to the NDIS and they're getting a lollipop suck job. And if they're not getting that, they're getting the
no, that was
dole,
not including
this week.
That was not including
the government are paying them enough to. What Australians have become is very adept at getting everything they need to live for the period that their dole check will allow them to live. So if they get $1,000, well, no, it's going to get a lot harder. Well, no, and we're seeing increases in crime because of it.
Yep.
So there is all these flow-on effects.
Well, as far as I'm looking at it,
explain to me then how bringing in 100,000 Indian builders is going to fix that, because they're going to move into the houses they build.
Yeah, it's not. This is the whole point. That's what I'm saying. That's the issue with, if they build the houses, you're only bringing in people that fill into the houses they've just built, but doesn't counteract or make it easier for the Australian person who's been here all their life to purchase a house, right? It does not help that at all. And yes, there's a couple of other nice things like that they would do to do with the tax and bracket creep when you're going into tax. That's a nice little thing that they talked about. But of course, One Nation's got a whole heap of ideas as well. But they don't never seem to mention that unless Pauline actually manages to get a few seconds on ABC or Channel 9 or whatever and mentions those things like income splitting. I've heard the coalition are talking about income splitting now. Yeah, we know where that one came from. I heard about that from One Nation a while back. Right? It's the same as the new gas policies she's starting to bring out. So people need to start looking and saying, hey, are we really going to look at the Liberal coalition? We know Labor's got to go, right? Period. That's a given, right? But are we going to look at the Liberal coalition and say, well, thanks, now you're now talking our talk. We're going to support you. Well, no. Why would we support you? You had the chance to listen to us.
We swallowed that last time and the time before and the time before. And now the Labor voters are getting a taste of it. Now the Labor voters are getting a taste of it. There will be no capital gains tax under the government I lead. There'll be no, no child in poverty by 1990. I remember Bob Hawke saying. Gillard made one of those ridiculous promises. They all make ridiculous promises. Trudd made one as well. I can't think of it at the moment. My head's all.
And it could well be that One Nation will make promises they don't keep either. But we won't know until we give them a chance to try.
Yeah. So the public clearly doesn't have it. The public clearly doesn't have a tolerance anymore for lying politicians or lying parties. I think anybody who's been watching lying Jim Chalmers and what else could you call Anthony Albanese other than a 100% completely untrustworthy individual who would lie to your face and then slap you in it in the very next breath. How these people hope to get elected in 2028 is beyond me. But most of these changes don't come in until July 1, 2028. There will be another election, a federal election, before July 1, 2028. So
which
I
gives
ask you
us a
this.
chance.
Well, I ask you this. Is this just a way of helping push another group like One Nation ahead, getting them to a point where maybe they can win 76 seats in the lower house, and get rid of Labor as well? This is a pretty eye-opening thing for people. To now we've got ostensibly 2 lower house representatives in there, but the feeling at the moment is very, very strong. If they can maintain the rage about this particular budget, and there's going to be another one that comes out next year that's going to have further sweeteners, you would think. So everything they've come out, so everything that they've come out and said in this budget could just as easily go away in the next budget before it's ever been introduced.
No, what they'll do is they'll come out in that last budget before the next election, which they'll probably call a little bit early, and they're going to give you, you get this discount, with a bit of overspend and make themselves look really good, but still leave all the legislation that hasn't gone through Parliament fully yet in this stuff that's going to still be enacted in July. But we have a chance, because what happens if, say, One Nation does win or forms government with a coalition type thing? What happens if they step in and say, well, no, bang, laws can be repealed? You realize that people, laws can be repealed quicker than they can be written.
But only if you trust the new government to do it. And there are plenty of them who said they would and didn't repeal the taxes that somebody else, the prior government had put in.
Yeah, once again, Labor, Liberals, Liberal, National. That's the 2 we've had there trying. We haven't had One Nation try. So how can you say that One Nation won't do what they're told, because there is no evidence to say they won't do it? Whereas we got how many years of evidence from the Liberal Labor Uni Party? How many years?
Yep. So, and it's lie after lie after lie after lie after telling us, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Oh shit, we're going to do it.
Except you can't say that now.
No,
sorry, you
no,
cannot
not the House
say that
anyway.
in Parliament. In Parliament, you cannot say that your opposition lied. It's a bad word. Why can that not land on the books? Why can that not be said? I thought they had parliamentary privilege, but they're not allowed to say somebody or a party lied.
No, well, they are allowed to. It's just that Speaker Dick, who is acting like one, decided to use a deputy speaker's ruling dating back to the 70s, which has since been overruled by actual speakers, not deputy speakers, but actual speakers. But he didn't bother talking about that rotten piece of filth that he is, the Dick. I actually thought he was a well-respected speaker. I thought he was doing pretty well. But his bias does shine through from time to time. I guess if you want to keep the job, you've occasionally got to go and do that kind of thing. Albo would expect it. Moving on, a few interesting things happening in mainstream media. The Nationalist Socialist Network is named as the second illegal hate group in the country. It's interesting because my knowledge is they've been disbanded for months. And as far as I'm aware, not talking in groups or doing anything like that. But the Victorian police say otherwise. The National Socialist Network has become the second group listed as a prohibited hate group under laws passed in the wake of the Bondi terror attacks. From midnight, I guess, Friday to night, providing support for funding, training, recruiting, joining or directing the NSN, also known as White Australia, will constitute a criminal offence with a maximum penalty of 15 years in prison.
Now, just how do you get yourself to be on that list as a person? Do you make a comment somebody says is racist and therefore no?
If you happen to be dressed in black and stood out in front of the New South Wales Parliament, not saying anything on a certain day, on a certain afternoon, then one of those blokes has already been deported out of the country back to South Africa. One of those
Well, that
blokes has already
sucks.
spent 6 or 8 months in jail. Another one's spending 12 months in jail, all because they stood there in black, didn't say a word.
I'm sorry, mate. I have to go off this stream. Got to go change my shirt.
Yes. Well, they were wearing hoodies and stuff too. They weren't hiding their faces, interesting enough. It's how the police have been able to find them. But they hunt those blokes down, and yet this arsehole, he gets to stay in the country. He's a rapist. He's a drug smuggler, and not just a small-scale drug smuggler. He is a huge drug smuggler. Hundreds upon hundreds of kilos of cocaine and over 100 kilos of meth. A rapist, a wife beater, and some trumped-up bureaucrat working in Tony Burke's office and using the minister's powers under Section 110 decided that after this prick has spent the last 9 years in jail, he spent a couple out, and the previous 7 in jail before that, it's okay for him to stay, not be sent back to Iraq.
Does he have citizenship?
No, he's been a criminal since the day he got here in the country.
Yeah, then good. Out he goes.
No.
I
guess they say they'll be shacking him up with the ISIS brides.
Yeah, okay. All of which aren't citizens either, except somehow they suddenly became one again. I suppose.
Well, yeah.
Got
to be a citizen to get your passport,
see,
haven't you?
Unless we start getting clear talking, straight talking people who are going to say what needs to be said, he's a keeper. Yeah, I don't think so, Anne. Not at all. And by the way, while I think about Debbie, no, I haven't seen any rain here in Manham yet. But effectively, there's a lot that's happening in this country. There's a lot of people waking up right now. And, a lot of people are saying, what's the use of doing this or what's the use of doing that? It's up to us now to start moving the needle. And that movement is happening with a lot of the people who haven't been in this fight very long. They've only been in it for a little while. So if you know those people or you see those people and you start chatting with them, don't drown them with all your knowledge. Meet them where they're at. Okay? And just work from there.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that because so many people get put off because they get drowned with knowledge. And, some of the things you say, they might not understand. And we were talking about COVID earlier. We had those same safety signals here.
Absolutely,
right,
we did.
In America. But they got ignored.
Absolutely.
So
Well, no, they didn't get ignored. That's the thing. They were obfuscated. They were shouted down. The people who wanted to draw attention to it were silenced effectively.
Yep.
How many weeks did I spend banned on YouTube because I spoke about COVID?
Mm-hmm.
How many? It's the whole reason I have multiple channels. All right, because every time you said COVID, you got your channel taken down. Cossack lost his completely. Many people did. Yes, eventually they got him back. I even got one of mine back. But they'd done the damage. They had suppressed the information and saying, I was just doing what I was told, or in the case of YouTube, just writing an algorithm to do it. Let's get in. Don't get me started on the fact checkers. Right?
I love some of their fact checking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of things I love about them. But anyway, speaking of fact checking, one of these things is not like the other. Can you guess which one it is?
Mate, I wouldn't dare say that because I might get that whole Sexual Discrimination Act thing wrong.
Well, and given that that thing on the right has just won another $20,000 out of the lady on the left, because that thing on the right was not allowed to go onto an app called Giggle, which is for women.
Yep.
And she didn't declare herself a woman. They picked her by her face and said, no, you don't qualify. Well, it got its testicles in a tube and decided it needed to go and fight and say how much it was hurt by all of that, and won. And now has won the appeal.
There's more to it than that. Apparently, I'll be nice and I'll call he a she, right, is also getting a brand new birth certificate.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, but how old are you? And what was your sex at birth? I really feel sorry for all the historians in the future who are going to be sitting there going, I have paperwork for these set of bones and it says it's a female, but the bones say it's a male.
Yeah. Especially the one between its legs. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a really bad ruling, and apparently there's actually a national lower house member who's actually putting in a private member's bill to get that act changed.
Pauline's come out to Giggle Proprietary Limited. Giggle and Tickle, this case is called. They've lost their appeal and been ordered to pay an increased damages of $20,000 to the trans expert Roxanne Tickle. A sad day for upholding biological reality in Australia. How bloody true. Yep. I'm afraid I don't indulge in people's mental health problems. You can have it, just don't expect me to participate in it. If you want to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Feel free, but don't impact my life, because you're going to get
force it upon other things. There's also a thing called consumer law where the owner has the right to refuse entry. Like you can be refused entry to a shop just because the owner does not want to serve you.
Yep. You smell bad. You don't. You're wearing your favorite footy club shirt, and he hates them. He doesn't have to serve you.
All right. So, and the comment from some of the judges was just ridiculous. It's not about the sex of the woman. What? But it is.
I wonder women don't feel safe anymore in universities around this country because this shit's going, all through those institutions as well, sadly. And they're, of course, producing the little snots that are getting into our intelligence agencies. And in America, their intelligence agencies, they have one head of their intelligence agencies. It's called the Director of Intelligence Operations Services. Yep. The current head of intelligence in America is Tulsi Gabbard. That means that she is, in effect, the boss of the CIA. Now, Tulsi Gabbard was working away at her desk, I believe, in New York City or Washington the other day, while Donald Trump and the head of the CIA, Ratfield, or whatever his name is, were in China. And what did the CIA do? They raid Tulsi Gabbard's office and they steal evidence. What evidence? Well, they took a whole heap of boxes containing all the unreleased JFK files and a whole heap of MK Ultra files. Now, we've spoken about MK Ultra here plenty of times, but what we haven't spoken about, and there is probably a whole other show in doing this, is some of the experiments that the CIA conducted in the 50s and particularly in the 1960s with LSD. Do you know that they went to France and put LSD into the dough of the only bakery in this little town, where everybody who had bread had to come and get their bread, and then sat back and watched as the town went crazy and measured the dosages? They went to, I'm pretty confident it was San Francisco, and released pathogens by driving around. Or in one case, there was a briefcase that was left in or under a public seat somewhere in a park, and it let out a clear gas or whatever, a pathogen. They wanted to see how fast that could spread through the CIA did all of this kind of shit to its own people. They put LSD in the drinking water in, I'm pretty sure that was in San Francisco too. So all that information is bound to come out, and would have been in part in those files, I'm sure, that were on Tulsi Gabbard's desk. But not anymore. Now, a number of congressmen and women have come out today and have said very, 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 very loudly. In fact, two of them have issued deadlines, and I think that deadline is by Monday morning. All the boxes with all the files in them must be returned to Tulsi Gabbard's office by Monday. If that's not the case, then everybody that was involved in the raid will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And they have all of those people on camera because of the CCTV footage. They'll be able to identify them all. But the biggest problem is that Ratcliffe, who is the CIA director, seems to have had a coup go on under him. So this is some form of rogue element, I'm sure he'll be claiming, out of the CIA, who have waited until POTUS and their boss is out of the country to conduct a raid on the head of national intelligence and take whatever they wanted. But they only wanted things pertaining to MK Ultra and what's that say? The CIA banned on US soil.
That's right.
Yes.
They cannot work inside the United States. They have no legal authority inside the United States. So what they have done is 100% illegal. Now, Tulsi's in charge of
they have committed
NSA
treason.
well.
They've started a coup. It's worse than that. That is a coup. That is the definition of a coup.
And that's a National Guard call out.
That's treasonous.
Put them in jail.
Yep. So don't say that things aren't happening. Things certainly are happening. They just might be happening in a way you didn't quite expect them to be happening, because it's got to expose these people. I'm sure Ratcliffe felt that he cleaned out the CIA. I'm sure Tulsi Gabbard didn't really expect to be raided by them.
And that's weird.
And who gave the order? Who actually controls the CIA? Is it an American or is it Mossad?
Yeah. Well, why would they do that too? The CIA is supposed to be a discreet intelligence agency. Why would they walk in, as you said earlier, we were chatting about this, why would they walk in broad daylight?
Yeah.
Right? Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Unless things are getting so messy over there at the moment that they no longer can hide. Is that what it's about?
Well, these will be a big leap forward in the American consciousness, I think. The CIA, because even the lowest thinking American knows that the CIA is not legally allowed to operate inside America, and they clearly have. So that's a problem.
It would be an unlawful raid because they don't have powers to raid. They don't have warrants. They don't have
which doesn't make it a raid, it makes it an attack.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. And it
So,
wouldn't matter, as far as I can see, whether they demand those boxes get returned or else you won't be, you've already made the mistake, pal. You're being prosecuted one way or the other.
Boxes are probably already in an incinerator.
Yep. That'll be my guess.
Yep.
And that'll be, watch the conspiracy theories come out now and say, this is how they plan to get away with not telling us the information that Donald Trump promised we'd get, because it's now all been destroyed. Right.
Yeah.
And this was really was really Donald Trump's plan. That's what they're going to say. That's what's going to come out. Right.
Yep.
I know they've
Yep.
just recently started releasing a whole heap of UFO stuff, which is good as well. I was looking at that the other day.
I was too. I'm more interested in waiting for the next tranche that is supposedly going to have video footage of these craft entering the water and not slowing down, and in fact coming past ships at great rates of knots underwater at speeds that nothing we could ever build could travel at underwater, and massive ships traveling underwater. So apparently there's going to be some footage of that coming. I wonder how blurry that's going to be, considering that everything from nuclear submarines to drones off ships these days have 4 or even 8K cameras in them. I wonder how blurry the footage is going to be.
Yeah, well, it depends on what it's also taken, whether it's done in infrared or whether it's being taken, because they have all of that capability on these drones and stuff nowadays. So
very true. No, I think watch the space. That Tulsi Gabbard raid or attack is enough to be declared treasonous. It's enough to be declared a coup. And if they don't return all that by, what was it, Monday, which will be Tuesday our time, then that's going to require the US Congress to act, I think.
Disband
very
the CIA.
seriously. Yeah. Well, you
Which
can't
would
trust
be
a
a
rogue
huge-
agency that's all of a sudden going to start working on it on your land.
Yeah, that would be a huge hit in the intelligence section for United States.
I don't know that would be the case. I think the national.
Actually, how do we confirm that it was actually the CIA? How has that been confirmed?
Well, other than the Congress people coming out and saying it.
I mean, we haven't seen any video of it, have we? I haven't seen anything about it yet.
No.
So.
No. But I didn't see any video evidence that Albanese won the election either, and here we are.
There's plenty of evidence that he's an idiot. There's a ton of that, right? And straight out liar. We will not, for the 50th time, we will not touch the capital gains tax.
Yeah.
So
now we've often wondered how they get into our children, how they get their evil talons in. Can I tell you, if you have a young girl aged between sort of 10 and maybe 16, 17 years of age, and they read a magazine or an online publication called, I don't know how it comes these days, Teen Vogue, you might want to have a bit of a look. Teen Vogue explains how to use menstrual blood in witchcraft to their 12 to 17-year-old readers.
Great.
This happens quite regularly. There is usually a story once every 18 months or so in one of these female teen magazines about how menstrual blood is very powerful in witchcraft. And if you want to create a spell, if you want a boy to fall in love with you, if you want this, that, the other, then these spells. And what it's doing is giving the girls who fall into this a false sense of or some form of confidence. I don't know. If they go ahead and do this and somehow the boy falls in love with them or whatever, they're probably a witch for life. It's opening the door to the power is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess it all depends how much.
Soul.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've got kids, particularly young girls who might read that, then yes, I did speak with Black Sheep. Then keep them out of their hands. I spoke with Black Sheep. Oh God, my head is so look. I think it was yesterday, but it might have been today. It was either yesterday morning or this morning. One of them. He goes well. He's had a bit of a fall, which is not so flash. Lady Rider, I am with you. Let's go back to the 70s. We can Susie Quattro our way through life. How wonderful that would. And Slade.
Yeah, I love Susie Quattro.
So Black Sheep's had a fall. and like a typical bloke, hasn't been to a doctor. I'm a tad concerned, but he reckons he's all right. Having a few problems with a rib and a wrist, I think, but he's still planning to get on the boat and head over here. So I think later this month was when he was planning to head over. I know he's going to New South Wales first, catching up with a friend, I think in Sydney, before coming a little further north, and then hopefully he will make his way to South Australia, to Wayno's, the big Wilmington camp out at the Stony Creek Bush Camp and Curry Hut. It's not a curry hut, but it might be by the time we're finished. We'll get him over there with his slot cars. So looking forward to that. And then he has plans to go and do all sorts of off-road driving and, going along those big tracks up north. So I hope he gets his ribs settled before he hits some of those corrugations, because I don't know what that would be like, driving on those with a busted wrist and a busted rib or two. That would be a bit unpleasant, I think.
Stony Creek
But anyway,
was in a little bit earlier, but he's having a racing thing tonight, so he's disappeared, but he was in earlier. So
very good.
Hope Wayno's having some fun there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that popped up too with the health. The hantavirus stuff is still getting used, which is pointless, because we've already said that it was, that you need to be inhaling dust from mouse poo. So that's part one. There's also now that they're bringing out that is it diphtheria, I think, was another one that they've had a death for that's been
Northern
brought
Territory, I think. Northern Territory, first case of diphtheria in like 60 years or something. First case in
2018
Australia
was the last one.
Yeah, right.
In 2018.
So bloody diphtheria, awful crap.
Yeah.
And here we go. We were getting a big warning a few weeks ago about measles. Now, when I was a kid, if somebody got measles in school, you went and give them a hug. Same with chickenpox.
Yeah.
That was so you
nobody's
could catch
died
it.
from measles for years that I'm aware of.
Me either, or chickenpox that I'm aware of. I mean, in the early stages of chickenpox, you want to feel like you're dying, but I'm sure there are worse things. I feel like I'm dying now, but it's only a cold. There's no pox upon me.
Oh, boy. No, I'm going to leave that one alone.
Now, there has been a
if we weren't
suggestion
on
that-
air, I had a perfect comeback from that, but because we're on air, I'm just going to leave that alone.
There is a meme going around at the moment, this one, that is suggesting Ben Roberts-Smith challenges Hastie in his seat of Canning in Western Australia. Now, a lot of people would love to see Ben Roberts-Smith go head-to-head with Andrew Hastie, particularly those people who were there when Andrew Hastie was on the selection course, because that was the last time that Andrew Hastie and Ben Roberts-Smith went head-to-head, apparently, and Ben Roberts-Smith found Andrew Hastie wanting and recommended that he did not be allowed into the SAS. Now, Hastie has taken this personally. Somehow he managed to get in there. Ben was tasked with beasting. They call it a beasting. So they give these guys a very, very hard time. It's during an interrogation process, and they're just always on you. They are just always on you. And Ben would have been a very intimidating 6'7", whatever he was, 120 kilos of pure killer, in your face, screaming and spitting all over you. Now, Hastie, from all accounts, didn't rate on Ben's radar, and a number of the other service personnel who were training them, but enough of them voted for him to get him through. So Hastie managed to get through. That could be part of the reason why Andrew Hastie is so keen to talk about rumour and innuendo rather than facts about Ben Roberts-Smith. So don't think for a second that Ben will be running in the next federal election. He won't be, not unless his case is dismissed before then, and even then he may not run. I expect his case will be dismissed at some stage, but we're looking at a process of years, and I think it'll probably be after the next federal election that all happens, because it will be a little, and it'll be a little bit like what's happening to Barry Young in New Zealand at the moment. So Barry was the whistleblower who had all the New Zealand convid health data and was able to show the correlation between not just the jabs and those died, but down to the batch numbers that were lethal, so to speak. Now, he's been in court for the last couple of weeks, on and off. He has been requesting a trial, which was meant to start yesterday, and the prosecution have not filed a prosecution for this case. They meant to have that out last month, by the end of last month, I think, and they haven't filed it. They're trying to get the case thrown out or adjourned. But Barry wants his day in court. Barry was arrested. Barry's been ridiculed. Barry's been, belted around in the media. He wants his day in court, quite rightly so. So he turned up today, and interestingly, the New Zealand courts wouldn't let him in. I mean, he got in through the front door, but didn't get into the courtroom. No, not getting into the courtroom, not doing the court today. No, we'll let you know when we're going to hear it. You don't have to worry about it. We'll let you know. So it could go now in for another 3 years before he gets an opportunity to present his evidence. And that's precisely what they are trying to withhold. They do not want to give him the opportunity to present his evidence because it is absolutely irrefutable. And I consider it to be probably amongst the most dangerous data on a global scale that is available, because it shows every other country how, the precise formulas they need in the spreadsheet to figure out what he's figured out. And so if they don't have smart enough people to do it themselves, all they got to do is follow his formula.
And the clusters and where the clusters were within New Zealand, etc., was actually quite amazing. Right, the amount of stuff that goes on, and of course they can get him for breach of the database that he was a manager of, or exposing that data to what they can get him for that part of it. But that's about all they can get him for, right? But as they say in the legal system, it's not your day in court that costs you; it's everything coming up to that costs
everything
you.
Leading
the
up.
Penalty is delivered before the court date is even set.
Yeah, it's wrong.
So
it's wrong.
And it is.
Very quickly, Topher Field has got a video out. I don't know how old it is. I think it only came out today. He's talking about something called natural law in it, where he's actually describing Magna Carta 1215 perfectly and the tenets involved with it. And he's trying to explain to one of his listeners, one of his viewers, the difference between being accountable and being prosecuted. Worth a look. But it's stuff we've talked about here some years ago. But I'm really pleased. Topher is also one of these people who's starting to open up and look at, what might be new information to him, but it's stuff that we've been talking about here for years. So I'm pleased that he's finally starting to open up to it and starting to articulate very clearly some of the issues. So good on him. Whether or not Carl, because he appeared on Carl too, didn't he? They made friends while they were in Albury. I don't know. Watch this space. Watch this space. All right.
So before we finish up for the night, guys, just want to point out that there's that little scrolling banner down the bottom. Right, I put that up 2 days ago on the last one that we had available, and it said 113 tickets left. It's still 113 tickets left. Please, please. I know Victorians can't do it because their government sucks, right?
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to win a cash prize. And it's not a registered charity organisation in Victoria, and all the other little crap pieces that go with it. But please, we need to get this finished. I need it off my merch site, right? So if you're not buying a hat, if you're not buying a hoodie, if you're not buying some Cacrostocracy cups, right, then buy some tickets. Help out the Donkey Sanctuary for one last time, right? $2 a ticket. There's no limit. You can buy as many as you want. It's up to you.
Very good, very good. Thank you again for all that you do.
No, that's not a lot. I've been saying I've got to get on and start my questions of the day, but honestly, people, I've been having brain farts for the last 2 weeks or so. So that's why you've not seen anything on the Freedom Broadcasting Network. I still have to do the whole smart meter thing. As soon as I can get my brain into some sort of intelligible order, I'll do that. But for now, you'll just have to put up with me here. Except when I'm not. Because right now, it's bye.
See you, buddy. I like the way he's talking himself into the wave now. That's semi-professional of him. I'm going to love you and leave you too, folks. Be safe over this weekend. I'm going to leave you with the thought that now that the government is taking so much more money from us, after being given access to so much more money, which they have taken from us, another over $38 billion they've raised just in this budget alone. I thought maybe you'd like to invest in some artwork. Now, here is a piece of art that I think we could all invest in. It should be hung in Canberra. I think probably over the doors of the Parliament. Do you know what that is, folks? I've asked a few people today, and one have said, "Oh, that's an interesting bit of wood." Oh, that's a strange knot. No. It's another sign that Sodom and Gomorrah is upon us, folks. That's an asshole. That's somebody's asshole in a close-up photo, put in a frame and put on a wall, believe it or not, of a restaurant. That is the kind of disrespect that they will show us going forward.
It was an elbow.
It was an elbow. Absolutely. So, as novel as it is, folks, they're telling us, holding us in contempt and laughing their asses off at us every day. Let's be better. Go forth, have a great weekend. Stay away from the dickheads on the road, and I'll be better by Monday. See you soon.
You
Bye.
let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
$32 tickets left. Saw somebody ask. Hooroo.